Right then, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's good to be with you. It's nice to see you on this St. Patrick's Day. A happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody who is celebrating. It's good to be here for one of our weekly Q&A live streams where I'm sure we'll cover a lot of ground and a lot of topics in surrounding Celtic Football Club. It's good to be on. The reason that we're doing this tonight is obviously, well, number one, it's the weekly occurrence. We do this every week, and it's nice to catch up with you and get you guys to dictate a bit of conversation. But more so this week, because it's been a quiet day. It's been a quiet day, and you know that yourself if you spend your working day, or if you spend your time going through the Celtic news websites or the fan media blogs or whatever it is, you'll know that it's been quite a slow news day. There hasn't actually been an awful lot to talk about in regards to the squad and fixtures and whatever. There's not much news, and a big part of that comes down to the fact that we are now having to get used to life without the midweek fixtures. And of course, this is the last game before the international break, so things are going to slow down for a wee bit, and it feels crazy to say that considering the context of our season, considering what's yet to come up in the last 8 match days of the Scottish Premiership season, plus Scottish Cup semi-finals. But for the next couple of weeks, we will be slowing down just a little bit. So I welcome yourself into the stream. We're going to try and cover what you guys want to talk about tonight, because ultimately, as I said, no news, so we'll get your points. But on that note, before we go any further, let's just talk about Celtic's position heading into the weekend, because I don't know if I'll be live again before the game of the week. Well, I'll be live for the lineup reactions, but in terms of discussing the context of our season, I don't know the next time I'll be live to have this sort of conversation with you. If I just float over to the monitor just now, I mean, it feels wild to say this, but right now, this is making for pleasant reading. This is making for pleasant reading, and it might be the only time ever that I say that about Celtic being second in the Scottish Premiership table. Like, I would usually never, ever, ever say that Celtic being second makes for pleasant reading. But, you know, in the context of their season, where we've been and where I think we all expected Celtic to be come match day 38, even as much as, you know, even as recent as like a month ago, for us to be second place, only 2 points behind Hearts, and certainly now in the eyes of most, the favourites, this makes for very pleasant reading. It's still anybody's title. With 8 games to play, Hearts, Celtic and Rangers all have a chance of winning the league. There's no denying that, you know. Rangers are only a point behind Celtic. So if we're going to talk about Celtic now being, you know, favourites for the title, Rangers aren't a million miles behind us. Momentum lies with Celtic, there's no denying that, but there's no point in acting ignorant about it. And of course, Hearts, they still lead the way, so it's a very open title race with 8 games to go. But Celtic have a huge game against Dundee United this weekend. And if we get through that with all 3 points, I think rightfully so, Celtic are being looked at as the favourites for this league title. I mean, sorry for switching back monitors and whatever and displays for you, but if I do just very quickly switch over to the bookies, and I'm just using Bet365 as a reference here, of course, gamble responsibly and only if you're over the age of 18, Celtic are now even money to win the league. We are the favourites in the eyes of the bookies, in the eyes of a lot of the media, and I would say in the eyes of a lot of our fans, just with the way these last few weeks have went. But I think there has to be a cautiousness that surrounds that. By the way, Celtic even money, Hearts now at 2-1, Rangers at 11-4. What I will say, just on top of all of that, is it's all changed very, very quickly. Like, it's all changed at the drop of a hat. You know, this time a month ago, I didn't think Celtic would have had a chance, but we dug deep and through the guidance of Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney, we found ourselves where we are. But that all happened very quick. It was genuinely in the space of about 3 or 4 games. It feels like the fortunes of Celtic's season changed. It all comes down to, you know, that Aberdeen game, Rangers at Ibrox, of course the boost you get from the Scottish Cup game at Ibrox as well. And now we're all fancying ourselves. But it just shows you that in the space of 3, 4 games or whatever it is, things can change very, very quickly. Like, so, you know, I think we're quite rightly feeling good about things right now, and so we should. I'm not going to take that away from myself, nor any other Celtic supporter, but it is just kind of like a drastic reminder that things can change quick, and who knows, come match day 33, Celtic could either be, you know, 5 or 6 points clear at the top of the table, Or we could be back in third place, trailing both Hearts and Rangers. It's just the way that this season has went. It's been the roller coaster ride of the 25-26 campaign in the Scottish Premiership. But right now, I think that Celtic should be looked at as the favourites, and I'm not going to shy away from that. And look, these are definitely words that could come back and bite you come May. I know that for a fact. I know there'll be people desperate to use that against me come May should Celtic not win the Scottish Premiership title. But if I'm just talking about facts and in this moment, yeah, I think Celtic should be considered the favourites. And it's crazy that we've arrived at that point, to tell you the truth. So I want to hear everything that you all have to say in regards to that. And of course, we'll talk about all your different things. In regards to other news, I'm seeing a lot of people bringing up points about Jota in the chat. I have heard nothing myself about Jota or this a failed surgery or anything like that, or an extended time on the sidelines. I don't know where that has come from tonight. I have no idea why that's in the chat, but just for people who might be reading it and getting a little bit worried, I've heard nothing. I've seen nothing to indicate that's the case. Look, at the end of the day, a conversation about Jota is a waste of a conversation right now. The guy's not going to be fit before the end of the season. We know that. And if he does come back, it won't be until the 26-27 campaign. So what's even the point of wasting our breath about it right now? We've got bigger things to worry about. One of those things being the opportunity to compete for a league title. And in regards to other wee bits of news floating around right now, there was a story last night that I'd done a video on in regards to Jens Bertalasco and Michael Gannon saying that he is incredibly interested in the Celtic job and that he would jog along the M74 to take the Celtic job should he be offered it in the summer. We know that he is on a kind of free-name shortlist just now alongside Robbie Keane and Craig Bellamy. I find that I'm chopping and changing my mind on who I think the Celtic boss will be, because this time last week, because that article came out on Thursday, I believe. So this time last week, Tuesday, Wednesday of last week, I was almost certain that Jens Bertalasco would be the next Celtic boss. Then when that article came out on Thursday, I thought to myself, okay, it looks as though it might be Robbie Keane. Now I'm back to thinking it will be him. And I don't think that's... I think that... And I done a video on it, so maybe I'm guilty of joining in on the party of blowing it up to being bigger than what it should be, right? But, like, I don't think that's necessarily news. So my reporting of it was simply to say that there's a story out there about it. But I think that some people online have maybe got carried away to a minor extent and saying, like, oh, that means he's getting the job. No, any Motherwell manager who was in line to potentially be the next Celtic manager, if you pardon me, any of them would run along the M74. But, like, there's not going to be a Motherwell manager who would knock back the Celtic job, no matter who they are or what they're doing. It's just, I kind of said this yesterday in my video. I don't mean to be like the typical Glasgow Celtic supporter, Derby supporting, entitled fan. But that is just the truth, and I think that any Motherwell fan could admit that. Like, there's no point in beating around the bush about it. So that is about the only other real news. There's been a couple of links with players as well in that today, but if we come on to them in the Q&A, we'll come on to them in the Q&A. But there's been talk about, Elijah Just, Andy Roberts and a couple of other players. It has been a kind of slow news day. Why did these things happen? Callum, mate. Callum. I thought my fucking software glitched. When these things happen, I don't know what to do. We're just here to chat about Celtic. Mate, it's been a rough week. I appreciate that. I really do. Callum, you need to send me an email or something. Get in touch. I've got a business email. Please get in touch with me. Callum, mate, all I'm saying is, please get in touch with me so I can thank you. Properly. You, mate, are an absolute legend. An absolute fucking legend. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you too. I genuinely speechless, to be honest. I appreciate the good words about the content. A good distraction with Celtic away being a pretty tough time. By the way, I've got that same SpongeBob cup. Brothers, mate. Mate, I feel like I need to sit and pause the streams for about 15-20 minutes when something like this happens, because there's no amount of appreciating that I feel like I could be forward. Thank you to everybody in the chat that's showing love to Callum as well. Mate, as I said, please fire me an email and I'll get in touch with you, because you're an absolute legend. God bless you. God bless you. Everybody, Callum, absolute legend. Not to diminish the £2 that you've donated Celtic champions. Big Andrew's right, we never stop, 56 incoming. Look, it's a big night. I was literally just about to take it into the Q&A. I appreciate that. It's nice to hear that people have found comfort in the content this year. And I honestly, I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Right, while I gather myself for a moment, I'm going to bring up the channel sponsors, because I think I need to just compose myself for a moment. Get your questions ready. We'll talk about everything you want to talk about. I'll be live until about 7:25 tonight. I wanted to go a wee bit longer, so thank God that we've I went live a wee bit earlier tonight, because I have been taken aback. Thank you to the channel sponsors, as always, for making these streams possible. I'll be back in a moment's time, and we'll talk about everything you guys want to talk about. Today's live stream is brought to you by Cairns Heating Solutions. With the days getting a wee bit longer, it doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet with this chilly weather. And you know what that means. It's time to get your heating sorted. Cairns Heating Solutions is a local company based in Coatbridge, serving Lanarkshire and the surrounding areas. And they're hooking you up with a deal you just can't miss. They're offering a Worcester boiler supplied and fitted for just £2,500 with no hidden fees. But wait, there's more. For just £60, they'll carry out a boiler health check to make sure your home is safe and toasty all season long. Don't get caught in the cold. Give Cairns Heating Solutions a shout and keep those chills away. From boilers to radiators, CHS has you covered. Contact them at cairnsheatingsolutions@gmail.com or give them a call on 01236 338 448 for your free survey. And we are delighted to be supported by fellow professional within our community, Craig M. Bush, Independent Financial Advisor. While we focus on the 90 minutes on the pitch, Craig focuses on the next 30 years of your life. From independent pension advice to strategic wealth planning, he's here to ensure your financial legacy is as strong as our club's history. You can grab a free initial consultation with Craig today to see how he can help you keep more of what you earn. Check out the details below. Your capital is at risk. The value of investments can go down as well as up, and you may get back less than you invested. Tax treatment depends on individual circumstances and may be subject to change in the future. Craig M. Bush is an independent financial advisor with Money Advice and Planning Limited. Right, okie dokie then, let's try and turn my attention back on. I'm laughing at Celtic. Where is it? I need to bring it up on screen. That made me laugh. Callum's put poor Celtic champions to shame with his £2. He's saying, listen, any donation of any size is always... do you know what I feel like? I feel like, you know when those reports came out about how like Nigel Farage and the Reform Party have had like the biggest donation in like party history because they've had robbing buggers. I feel like that right now. Callum, mate, honestly, what an absolute legend. Listen, to Ollie's, bless yous, yous are the best, because this is my full-time job, and it's because of people like Callum that I get to do that. So I thank you. Right, let's get on. And on that note, for anybody who is ever looking for a point or a tip, you can always feel free to email me, and I try and get back to... I'm terrible for replying to folk, and there's plenty of people who can attest to that, just because my Twitter DMs are a bit of a mess. But you can always email me. Listen, just go for it, do something you love, and you've just got... It's consistent, you know, you've got to just stay consistent. That's the tip I always give. I know it sounds basic, I know it sounds fucking kind of arty-farty, but yeah, I've got to just stick at it and just keep trying to push yourself as best as you can. But always feel free to pop an email if you ever want to pop an email. Right, let's get into the Q&A. Let's talk about Celtic. God, I feel like I'm all over the place. I've got about 25 minutes, so let's try and go through as much as we possibly can, even though it is a sort of slow news day and there isn't an awful lot happening. I may as well answer this because it's been put in the chat a million times, and it means it stops getting the spam. When do I think a Celtic player will ever win the Ballon d'Or? If Jimmy Johnson never done it, nobody will. There's never going to be a Celtic player that wins the Ballon d'Or. That's as simple as that. When are the mods getting a cut? Don't you start, Jamie boy. You've only popped up for the first time in months. Anyway, right, let's get the questions going. Keith Jackson says Clark for Celtic. F me, would rather have Ryan and McKenzie. Look, if there was... I respect the hell out of Steve Clark in regards to what he's done in the game. And let me just finish the tea. I've got one more gulp left. There we go. I respect the hell out of Steve Clark. Is he the next Celtic manager? Number one, obviously not. Should he be the next Celtic manager? Number two, Obviously not. That would go down like a lead balloon. There is no chance anybody... I think there would be a very small amount of people in the Celtic support happy with Steve Clarke. And I don't know what Keith Jackson is smoking, if that's what he's coming out and saying, but there is genuinely more chance of me becoming Celtic manager, I think. That's how confident I would be of saying that he won't be the next Celtic manager. But yeah, that's looking forward a wee bit into the future. We will win this league, possibly all 8 games, says City in the Sky. Hail to the fucking hail, brother. Look, 8 out of 8 is definitely possible, and I think especially with Hearts and Rangers both being at Celtic Park, you know, never say never. Judging how this season has went, I think it is incredibly kind of pie in the sky to suggest Celtic win 8 out of 8 and take maximum points. But the beauty of it is, I think that any other year, well, maybe this is a hard one to put into words, right? What I was about to say there is, like, any other year, I think that you would be going 8 out of 8 is necessary or whatever, right? But that's not really been the case, has it? Because Celtic have dominated, we've won leagues by 9, 10, 11, 12 plus points. So maybe it doesn't extend to any other year. But I think the beauty about this year specifically is, if Celtic were to go, and let's hope this doesn't happen, if Celtic were to go to Tannadice this weekend, right? If Celtic were to go to Tannadice this weekend and lose the game, yes, it would be, there's no other way to paint it other than it would be a bit disastrous. But I've got plenty of faith that Rangers and Hearts are going to drop plenty of points between now and the end. You know what I mean? That's what I'm basically trying to say. Look, there's still very little room for error and you want to be perfect. But I think that you can rely on Hearts and Rangers to drop a point here or there without wanting to actually be dragged into that. SQRROE Screw asks, Ryan, would you take Martin as a permanent manager? Obviously, unluckily, but you know... you couldn't refuse an offer, couldn't come back at the same time. No, save. I'm going to skip to the point about Martin O'Neill being here we go. Martin is permanent, not saying it would happen, but he did come back a second time after saying he wouldn't. Just a question. Like, plenty of people are going to talk about it if we win the league. This is the way I put it. He won't be it. It's not. I'm not saying I don't want him. I'm just saying he won't be it. I think he is probably dying to retire. Probably like full on retire and just feet back up again. I don't think he wants to be the next Celtic manager, so I don't even think there's a point in having that. I don't think there's necessarily a point in having that conversation about whether or not he should be, because I don't think he wants to be. But I don't know. It's just, there was an interview that was very telling, I think, after the cup game at Ibrox, where he came out and he said it's been far more difficult this time round than the first interim spell. And I think that's, well, number one, because the interim spell was at a point in the season where everything was still up for grabs, and he was just there to steady the ship until Celtic made a permanent appointment. Whereas this time, you know, we fell behind, we have trophies, he's actually here to win the trophies now, and it's close to crunch time. Whereas when he was here in October, November, we weren't at crunch time. So I think it's been very different for him, probably mentally and probably to an extent physically as well. Like, I'd imagine it does take a toll on a guy of his age. Not that I don't want to be presumptuous or ageist or anything like that, but you know, as a man who has an elderly father, I know that when you get older, things get harder in terms of working and whatnot. So, you know, I'd imagine he's dying to retire. Never say never and all that. And trust me, I would love to see Martin O'Neill here. I would, forever. I love the guy, but you've just got to be realistic in the conversations. We need Yang to keep playing like he did against the Well at the weekend. Hashtag Yang Gang, says Jackie. Yeah, look, you know me, I'm no point in beating around the bush here. I'm not a massive Yang fan. Played well at the weekend. But what have I been saying since December? I've been saying that he's Celtic's most effective winger. I've been proven right on that a number of times since I first came out quoting that. I think it's still a sad indictment of where we are in the wings, but I mean, if he keeps playing like that, then we should tie by pretty well to the end of the season. He played really well, and I think, you know, when you look at his season in general, it has still been below the expectation that you would want out of a first-team winger. Like, his productivity, his numbers haven't been as productive as you'd like. But he pops up in moments when you need him. And, yeah, he's as I said, I think he is our most effective winger at the minute. So, you know, I'll keep coming back to that point when need be. Would I take Martin Boyle 10 years ago? Maybe not now. No disrespect, but the football has been crap under O'Neill. Only here for the results. Yeah, I think the football would be better if he had a better squad as well, to be fair. I think that you saw that. I think when his first tenure, remember those first few games were going nice direct football, so none of this hoofing the ball around the back or whatever direct. I think that just that was possible at that moment in time because you had the bounce, you had the lift, and you had the change. Whereas now you don't. He has to understand the limitations of what he's working with, and how he has to. His players need to be expendable in the sense that they have to be available week in, week out for every game, and he's got to obviously change things because of that. I just don't think he has the quality to sit there and play this beautiful, attractive football that we'd all like. I think that any manager would struggle to do that. We saw what happened to Wilfred Nancy when he tried it. So, the football hasn't been great, but results matter, and results matter most. We need Osman back ASAP. Yeah, I mean, he would be a help. I don't think we need him back, but he would definitely be a help. It's an interesting one, Callum Osman. I would have loved to have seen how that long term would have went, because it's very hard to judge after he had like 2 good games for Celtic and then sadly got injured. So we never know if he was going to ended up like everybody else this season, pop up once or twice and then disappear. I'll wait and see. Oh God almighty, we've got loads coming in tonight. Do you know a more handsome American than me? Only one done this, and it's Jalen Hurts. That's all. But you're right up there, mate. Don't you worry, son. Don't you worry. I want us to sign Sirachi. I would like. Look, there's been a lot of conversation this week about what should Celtic do. Should they keep Tierney and sign Sirachi permanently, or should they keep Tierney and bring in Andy Robertson? I think that's. Do you want my honest opinion on this? Because I don't want to cover too much ground with the whole Andy Robertson thing just now, because once again, it's something that I think will pop up at the end of the season, right? Either way, that's a pretty good place to be in. I've seen people turning it into a competition online, fighting amongst each other that, it has to be Robertson or it has to be Sirachi or something like that, right? Whatever way it ends up, if it's any of the two, we're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine with any of the two of them there. Honestly, it could be Sirachi permanently or Robertson in a pre-contract, and I think there's no need to fight about it. We'd be blessed either way. So I would love Sirachi. I love Sirachi. I like his personality. I like him as a player. I'd be very buzzing if he signed, just the same way I'd probably be buzzing if Andy Robertson signed as well, because it's Andy Robertson. Loads of points coming in just now. A lot of talk about Asco in the chat. Naturally, as you would assume, you're good with second most. That's good, mate. I'm glad. I'm always supportive of all the American viewers on the channel. There's actually quite a lot of you, and I love that. It's nice to keep in touch with those over the pond, as they say. A lot of talk about Asco, as I was saying in the chat. Tierney, Robertson, Araujo, and Johnston. Imagine having all 4 next season. It would be nuts. It would be absolutely nuts. I mean, that would be, on paper, the best full-back depth I've ever seen at Celtic. Right now, the full-back depth we've got, if Johnson was fit, is probably one of the best I've ever seen at Celtic. Because, if Tierney drops out and Sirachi comes in, I feel good. Johnston's out, Araujo comes in, I feel good. It's just the shame that Johnson's been injured all season. But that would be unbelievable. On paper, it would be magic. And on that note, we do have Lewis saying he would honestly rather Sirachi over Robertson. Getting a guy in his prime, willingly being back up, can't be missed. And I agree. Do you know what? I agree with everything you're saying in a sense. Can't argue it. The only thing I will say is, we'll wait and see how that fares come summer. Will he be happy to be back up? Or will his good performances get the attention of somewhere that might take him in to be a starter? I think that's still up in the air right now. I don't think there's an absolute guarantee. I don't think there's a 100% guarantee that Sirachi's yes, I'm willing to come in and be second fiddle to Kieran Tierney, if there's other options on the table for him. But if there's no other options, then, naturally, we'll see where we get. Hello, Nathan. Yes, you're right, and nice to see you, mate. How's things? Good to see you. Robertson is not done. He's not done. And I think and there's been games where he's looked poor, but he's definitely not done. He's not at all. And I'm an avid Liverpool hater. I remember going head-to-head, eye-to-eye with David Buick, who's a big Liverpool man, who maybe a year or so ago was saying that Robertson was done. I was like, no, he's not. And the amount of times ever since that I've watched David then bang on about how good Robertson's been, I've been like, I told you, because he's just not done. He's had some poor performances naturally, but I don't think he's finished. And I think the balance between him and Kieran Tierney could work really, really well. So, look, as I said, we'd be blessed either way. I'm not going to complain about whatever way. It's not as if Sirachi would sign and I'd go, oh, I'm gutted we never got Robertson, or vice versa. If Robertson signs, I'm going to go, oh, I'm gutted we never got Sirachi. I just think it's a very good position to be in if we got any of them. This is an interesting one that's been spoken about enough, and I think there was an article wrote by one of the blogs earlier about why we should do it. But people talking about bringing Arthur back on loan next year. If Brentford are up for that, how many fans would be interested in it? Because I think it's a good point. Like, Arthur has shown a steadiness and a readiness to add to the Celtic team. Once again, I come back to what I said a moment ago about Callum Osmond. Like, I'm always very, very reserved and cautious of jumping into bed without taking my socks off, right? I'm very cautious I don't want to come out and go, class, after a few games. But when you consider the magnitude of the games that he's been involved in, and considering where we are right now is to compete for a league title, you really can't knock that. So I think there will be a conversation about bringing back Arthur next year. But what I would say before all of that is, I want us to sort out our team on a permanent basis before we have to start relying on Premier League loans. Like, I like the look of him. And who knows, maybe we ask Brentford the question. Maybe we say to Brentford how much he's wanting for him, and we try and sign him. God knows. You never know. But I want us to sort the team out permanently before we start talking about, like loans and stuff like that, because I'm not going to suddenly change my tune from where I was in the January window, pardon me, in previous windows where I've said I hate that we're just developing other clubs players. But he looks solid, man, and I've seen people already compare him to Van Dijk, and that's where I'm like, well, steady, everybody, but I get it. He's been very, very good. Maybe some more football between now and the end of the season would be handy, and I want Arthur on a 5-year deal. God, I use the phrase jumping into bed without taking your socks off. That's fucking jumping in without you've taken even your upper halves off, Hatate and Maeda were both really good against Motherwell. Both showed good passion. Yeah, they've turned it on, man. And I seen some mixed reviews of Hatate from the weekend. And you know me, I'm the first one to come out and criticise these guys when there's a chance to. I thought it was a very harsh. I know he made a mistake in the game, but I thought he played pretty well again. Honestly, I thought he did. And I was kind of perplexed by some of the reaction I saw to Rio Hatate at the weekend. I thought he played well. And if that's the level of play you're going to get from him between now and the end of the season, then thank God, because that's what we need to rely upon to win a league title. Simple as that. So that kind of touches on the point I was making, Rab. Yeah, the whole developing other clubs players. I do agree with that. I do agree. I wonder what Brentford would value him at right now. I wonder what they would think. I like the physicality of him. I think that he it's very rare that we see a Celtic centre half that comes on the park with that amount of meat. And I like that. I like that a lot. Martin O'Neill played Scales at left back over Sriracha, extremely overrated. I don't know if we ever got a confirmation about this. Number one, I don't think Sriracha is extremely overrated. I think that we can be as Celtic fans, we're very prone to overrating people very quickly. Hence why we're having conversations about like Benjamin Arthur right now. But that has to be fitness related, because Scales was struggling over on that left hand side at points in that game, and he just refused to bring Sriracha on. I refuse to believe that he was fit, and I think that's why he didn't. Because especially getting into extra time, I think everybody was thinking the same thing. Like, Scales can't play another half an hour on the left hand side of the park, and he did. And I'm telling you right now, if Sriracha was fit, he would have been on the field. He would have been on the field. That has got to be fitness related. I just think surely it was. But then again, that's just me going off my own logic and theory. Realistically, how many new signings can you see in the first 11 next season with everyone fully fit? I'll give you a rough number. 6. 5 or 6. You might ask, where did they 5 or 6 come from? I think there'll be potentially a new keeper, but I'm not so sure because Sinisalos played well. But I think there'll be a new centre half. I think there'll be at least 2 new central midfielders. I think there'll be a new striker, a new winger, and then I think you've got space for one more. I think that you could have another one in there somewhere alongside. But I'm pretty confident in saying a new centre half, at least 2 centre midfielders, a winger and a striker. That's 5. Straight off the back? Yes. But we'll wait and see. Can we sign Araujo's brother? Get him in. Get him in. Based on this season, if we win the double after having one of our worst seasons ever, Martin O'Neill deserves a statue. I mean, I've been saying it for months. I seen there was some page on Facebook that used a photo from my Twitter in the quote of me saying build the statue and build it high. I'm like, they try to use me as the face of the statue building revolution. I fucking hope not. No, I would love a Martin O'Neill statue. I would love it. I would campaign for it ruthlessly if we. I'd campaign for it if we don't win the league. To be honest with you, probably the old fell out retirement for all of this. So, aye. God, loads still to cover. I'll be live for about 10 or so more minutes, so keep getting your points in. We've already hit the half hour mark. I'll probably actually stay live for another 5 minutes, because I do want to make sure that this stays in a decent length for those watching it back as a video later tonight. What do you think about Ralston being called up for Scotland over Colby Donovan? Not surprised. Steve Clarke is famously loyal to his players. I do think it's a bit of a shambles. Young Colby should be in there over Ralston, but then again, Stephen O'Donnell should probably be in over the two of them, going off current form. It's a strange one. Daft question, not even a question. You know what the answer would be, and it's not even a conversation. Let's see. God Almighty, if we do the double, we should have a stand named after him. I mean, hard to argue things like that. I was joking for years that I wanted Brendan Rodgers to have a stand named after him, so I should bloody start talking about O'Neill getting one. We should keep him on as a direct. It's like, I get that, right? But I think the thinking behind that is very like, I don't want to use the phrase video game-esque, because like at the end of the day, I don't know any video games where you appoint board members. But like, I think it's very Fantasyland stuff. Like, Martin O'Neill very much could be like a voice on the board, but does he necessarily want to be? I don't know. It's like, it's all well and good saying these things. Director of football, once again, the guy probably just wants to retire. And I think the phrase is just kind of Fantasyland stuff. Like, when Martin O'Neill goes at the end of the year, he's going at the end of the year. And I'd be stunned if he stays in any capacity. And his influence on the board would be very minimal anyway. And do you know what? I'll come back to the board stuff as well. And in regard to that, like, if the Celtic board keep acting the way that they're acting, then do we really want Martin O'Neill's name to be tarred with that brush? I know it's very easy. We can all just go, oh, fuck the board, except Martin O'Neill. But do we want him to be in with them? Probably not. So, I don't know. He'll go, when he goes, he goes. That's that for me. Would you like to see Van Dijk play for Celtic to end his career? I would like a house in Beverly Hills, mate. I'm not going to get it. I would like it, not just... It's a very, very random question, actually. What do you think our chances of signing Araujo a permanent deal with the wages that he's on? I said this in my video yesterday after the post from his brother on Instagram, and if we're going to come back to Araujo very quickly, I could see him coming back on a year loan deal. I could see him being the kind of way it happened with Paddy Roberts. Anybody that remembers the Paddy Roberts situation, we brought him in the winter of 2016, and we ended up keeping him for an 18-month loan deal, basically. He was here for the 2016-17 campaign following that. I could see that happening with Araujo. I'm still under the impression that signing him permanently is just not going to happen this summer. I think they need to kill some time on his contract, and who knows, never rule it out for the year following. But I think it'll be another year loan deal, to be quite honest. Just because they paid so much money for him, man. I can't see a way in which they go, Celtic, go have him for half the price that we paid. Especially if he's been playing well at us. It just doesn't make a lot of business sense. So, and at the end of the day, you know, business sense is what comes first in the modern age of football. There's definitely not going to be another AGM. I think we've had to move beyond that now, actually. I'd say it's better if Martin... Here's a different type of comment from Phil, saying it's better if Martin O'Neill goes. It means Celtic have to look to the future and hopefully realise that the high-calibre manager this board clearly can't take risks like Nancy. Yeah, look, I agree. Look, that's not me saying I can't wait for O'Neill to go. Of course it's not. So don't be putting words in my mouth. But we need to stop going in these circles and keeping the past around and stuff like that. Like, there is a point where we're going to have to just move on. And unless Martin O'Neill wants to stay on a permanent basis and that's seriously considered, then, you know, there's no point in having, you know, the past linger all the time. It's a weird one to get the balance right, because of course you definitely want aspects of consistency around at the club, but you also need to adapt and move into the future, and it's something Celtic have refused to do since Martin O'Neill left the club in 2005. So it's a strange one. With regards to Robertson, I'd gladly take him. So what if we become known as a retirement club? Ex-Premier League and Champions League winners come to Celtic, I'm all for it. I think you could make the exception for certain people, and Robertson is one of them. It'd be different if he was like 36, couldn't run anymore, and we were just giving him a charity run in the team. He's not at that stage of his career, though. And he's not some diddy. Like, he is Andy Robertson. He's a Scotland captain, Liverpool captain at times. He's won, as you said, Champions League, Premier League titles. I think it's different for guys. It's not like we're saying, let's bring in fucking, I don't know. I'm trying to think of people that have got a connection. It's not like we're saying bring in Paul McGowan for 6 months. You know, it's Andy Buck and Robertson. So I think there's a difference in how you look at certain people. As simple as that. Would I sign Oxlade-Chamberlain at the end of the season? Has to be close at the end. Right now, I would lean towards no, but I'm not got my mind made up on it, or I've not really got a strong opinion either way on it. On that note, I am going to wrap things up there. We've hit the 35-minute mark, ladies and gentlemen. Can I just say very, very quickly, first of all, thank you to the Celtic champions for the £2. But Callum, who is always a regular in here and all the rest of it, and has donated plenty of times in the past, mate, honestly, thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless all of you for watching tonight. You have been brilliant and part of this stream as always, especially tonight where there's not an awful lot to talk about. You guys have made the conversation, and that's always a pleasure. I'll be back on the channel tomorrow with the regular content as usual, and I'll be live again for non-channel members on Saturday before the game. Or is it Saturday or Sunday we play, actually? Just realised, Sunday, isn't it? It's Sunday. I'll be live on Sunday before the game. I'll be live an hour before kickoff as usual. Right, until then, take care of yourself, ladies and